I want to reference an interview that President Biden did in mid-September with 60 Minutes. And in that interview, he chided former President Trump for having in his possession classified documents. He called it irresponsible. First of all, do you think it was proper for President Biden to comment on an ongoing DOJ investigation?
So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to keep it really short today, as it relates to this particular issue, as it relates to an ongoing legal matter. I'm going to refer you to Department of Justice with that specific, as it relates to anything that you want to ask of us about this legal matter. I would refer you to the White House Counsel Office. I'm going to leave it there. Not going to go into further.
I'm simply asking you to comment
on
the person that you work for.
I just commented. We're moving on. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I already answered your question. Go ahead.
You really didn't.
Well, I did.
No, you didn't.
Well, it's your opinion. It's your opinion. It's your opinion. That is your opinion. Go ahead.
I had asked you last Friday, and I know that there was a formal request from the WHCA to have Richard Sauber come to the briefing and take questions. To follow up on that, would you commit to having the White House counsel come here and take questions?
That is something that I would refer you to the White House counsel's office. They have been engaged with all of you. I know, again, they did a 45-minute call with many of, if not you, many of your colleagues. Somebody here had said 30 minutes, but it was not. It was actually 45 minutes. They miscounted. And so that was important. They will continue to engage with all of you. And so again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office on this, and any specifics to the ongoing legal matter, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
Did you pass along the request?
I'm happy to pass it along.
To be clear, my question's about procedures here at the White House and not about anything specific related to the DOJ investigation. So I'm just wondering how this episode has prompted a review of the process in which staffers handle classified information and how they are turned over to National Archives during a transition.
And to be clear, I'm going to refer you to my colleagues at the White House counsel's office. They will be able to address that particular questions. I'm just not going to address something that is even related to an ongoing legal process.
Why not? I mean, I'm having a hard time understanding why questions about procedure.
And I just said to you, the White House counsel's office will be able to address that question.
Is President Biden satisfied with the current SOP of handling classified materials here and turning them over to National Archives?
Again, I will refer you to the White House counsel's office. They're the people who would be able to answer that question about classified information.
So just to be clear, from this point on, are you not going to be taking questions about the classified documents?
I have been very clear over and over again. We are going to be prudent here. We're going to be consistent. This particular matter is being looked at. There's a legal process currently happening at the Department of Justice, and I'm going to refer you to the Department of Justice on any specifics to this particular case, and anything that has to deal with what we're doing here, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office. And let me remind you, this is not a new process here. We've been doing this for the past 2 years. Anything that is related to a legal process, a legal matter, we refer it to the Department of Justice. There's nothing new in our process here.
Since so many of our questions have been referred to the DOJ and to the White House counsel's office, I'm sure you can understand that we're in sort of information blackout where DOJ refers us to the special counsel. They're not holding any briefings. White House counsel refers us to DOJ. So if you are not able to talk about this from the podium, would you invite a DOJ official to take our questions here to the briefing?
No, you would have to go to the Department of Justice. That is not, this is a legal matter that is currently happening at the Department of Justice. And the President has been very, very clear when it comes to these types of legal matters, when it comes to investigations, he's not going to interfere. He wants to make sure that we give back the independence that the Department of Justice should have when it comes to these types of investigations. So certainly would not be bringing them here. So I would refer you to the Department of Justice. I was just very very clear. If you have any questions, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office. They did a call for 45 minutes yesterday, speaking to many of you. I believe there were more than 200 people on that call. And so I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House counsel's office.
We're just not getting a lot of questions.
Go ahead.
Sorry, but on questions that you should be able to answer here that shouldn't have to go to any other agency or entity, can you tell us if there's any sort of assessment that has been planned or launched to determine if national security has been jeopardized at all?
Again, that's for the Department of
Why
Justice.
is it a DOJ
And
question?
and let's be clear, it's not your decision to make on what I can or can't answer from here. What I'm telling you is that we are respecting the process. We are being prudent from here. There is an investigation currently happening. And when there are investigations that are happening that the DOJ is currently reviewing or looking at, we have been very consistent to say that you need to go to the Department of
Are they
Justice.
working with NSC or with any other intelligence
Again,
agency?
I would
don't
refer you,
understand why we're being
it's very clear, I just laid out. There should be no confusion here. There is a legal process happening, and I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
We've all reached out to the Department of Justice. A law enforcement official tells NBC News the Justice Department has not told the White House that it cannot talk about the facts underlying the special counsel investigation into classified documents. So trusting you've received that same information, understanding the desire to be prudent, then why can't you speak about the underlying facts?
We've been very clear when it comes to even underlying facts, when it comes to specifics, when it comes to something that is under the purview, that the Department of Justice is looking at, especially legal matters, investigations, we do not comment from here, Peter. That has been consistent.
So
We've been
understanding that
very consistent.
Bob Bauer, who represents the president's personal attorney over the weekend, said that one of the reasons why, and Ian Sams, your colleague who speaks on behalf of the special counsel at the White House, spoke to this in some form yesterday. But he said one of the reasons why they shouldn't reveal further details right now was regular ongoing public disclosures also pose the risk that as further information develops, answers provided on this periodic basis may be incomplete. When the White House did release a statement, the president spoke out on January 9th. The risk of incompletion was a function of the White House's decision not to share all the information it knew, in fact, because we knew on November 2nd, then the first discovery was made. We knew the second discovery was made on December 20th. So there's a risk of incompletion, but will you concede that it's the White House that has been incomplete in its provision of information when it did choose to speak out publicly on January 9th?
My colleague actually dealt with this question on the call yesterday on the White House counsel's
He made
office.
the same point
As
about the risk
you,
of incompletion.
and I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
Then is the White House having any conversations internally about finding someone, much the same way John Kirby has spoken on behalf of national security issues at this podium as your colleague, as their representative? Is there someone, is the White House in talks right now to find someone either outside the White House or internally who can speak on behalf of the White House representing the special counsel office within the White House from this podium, or any of those talks?
I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
But you're the communications,
I
you run
would-
communications, so I'm asking
I-
about you as a communications matter,
We-
playing any
there
part of
is-
those
you-
conversations existing.
Peter, you have spoken to my colleague who did, again, a 45-minute call with all of you, answering questions
But
about.
if you would acknowledge it's on background, that Karine, not on the record until the call ends, that means the American people can't see it in public. So we're asking, will there be a
But many-
representative who would
but-
speak on camera and see it in public?
But the call was indeed, he was quoted, it was in papers, it was on networks.
Correct, but because they can't witness it happening live, Americans don't get the same transparency into this back and forth. I'm asking, is the White House having a conversation?
Peter,
This is just with respect. You guys brought John Kirby in. I'm asking if that
Peter,
conversation exists.
the fact that he spoke to all of you reporters who report on this, and then you all reported on it back to the American people, I believe that is transparency. I believe that he shared information, he answered your questions that you believe that the American people wanted to hear, and he answered those questions.
So my
And he
question is,
he took 45 minutes to do that.
For which we're great.
Anything else that you have on this, Peter, I would refer you to the White House counsel. Peter, I'm
I
not,
just wanna
we
be
just
clear.
went
Are you
back.
having- so just the
We're-
question is,
Peter-
are you having a conversation about adding a member to the staff to speak publicly on this?
Peter,
It's yes or no. You can say no.
actually just answered that question. I said, we have someone currently,
So that
right?
means no.
We have someone currently who answered your questions for 45 minutes on a call and took your questions.
Yes.
Took your questions about this particular issue.
Correct.
He will continue to do that. He will continue to engage with all of you, right, on this issue, on this legal process that's currently happening from the White House counsel's office. After that, Peter, I don't have anything else to share.